Welcome to Tourism Talk. I'm your host, Mary Hammond, Director of the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thanks for joining us. I have two guests today, one that I can't believe hasn't been with us before, at least she says she hasn't, Rosemarie Steele, Marketing Director for the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Jessica Perkins. She's our friend and our sister as we sell Paducah. She's the Marketing Manager for Paducah Renaissance Alliance. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Well, you know, it's wide open about what to talk about. We've had different ideas we've kind of tossed around, but I thought we would kind of talk about Paducah, how our community has evolved, how we really are a creative community, and how we've sort of followed that path of the rise of the creative class and people looking for communities other than your basic place that just has a job, that people want that quality of life. They want that inspiring community. And you know what? That's what Paducah has become.
Yes, absolutely.
And how exciting that's been from the times that Rosemarie and I have been together, probably 14 years, how much Paducah has changed. The 12 years ago that we came to Broadway, 5 years ago, and when we changed the way we were marketing Paducah from the way we always did it, to looking at our assets, our base of what's making Paducah truly
unique.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
exactly. And you know, as you said, 5 years ago, I mean, the Artist Relocation Program was a program in the early 2000s, and then all of a sudden the artists started moving in, and we have a new product. So once they're there and they've renovated their homes, they've opened studios and galleries, and then we saw the Carson Center open. So we had a huge change in our destination. So those changes in the destination required us to change the way that we were selling Paducah.
You're exactly right. I have to interject one thing. Not that we didn't have those, the symphony and the focus, community concerts. Not that we didn't have the music. Not that we didn't have the arts, as they call themselves, the Wastelanders, or the Yiser Art Center, or the PAPA, Paducah Area Painters Alliance, but now we had an inventory. What do you call it? We had a group of them,
product
that had come together and all settled in one area. So it was changing the whole dynamics of our town. The Quilt Museum has always brought creative people to Paducah, and as we know, some very famous quilters have moved to Paducah, from Carol Fallard coming here. Gosh, what do we always? She's the Bono of the quilting, the quilting world. But the energy in our community changed.
Absolutely, it did. And you're talking about you know, those things that were always here. We always were a cultural destination. Our history is very rich. We portray it in many, many different ways. And so the cultural tourist was basically our demographic. And they could be anyone. They can be students who are in college, the young professionals, or the people who love heritage, who love preservation. So we have a very wide range of people who would be interested in the type of destination that we have. You made a comment earlier about art and the quality of life that it produces.
Right. A lot of kind of what you're talking about, even with the rise of the creative class, is that idea that people choose their destination or their home based on the quality of life. They don't just go somewhere for a job. It's important what's in the city. And even when I moved to Paducah, you know, coming back after several years, it was those assets that are in the Renaissance area, Lower Town and downtown, and just that whole area that was attractive, because it was a sophistication that doesn't exist in a lot of cities our size. And so then when you bring tourists into that, I think they're always surprised that this is Western Kentucky, because it's not your stereotypical idea. There's all these other things that they didn't even know existed.
I love that she used that word, sophistication.
I saw you.
Really, because people in this community don't realize how sophisticated we really are. In fact, as we saw those changes in our destination, we identified 3 specific characteristics, and one of them is the elegant sophistication of our product. I mean, we have art that you'll see in a big city, the River Discovery Center, those interactive exhibits, the exhibits at Yiser, the performances that come in and out of our community. We have diverse art forms. There's so many of them. You know, you mentioned the college. I love to come out here to the Focus series. I love the seating, and I mean, how many times are we always going to the Carson Center? But you know, and the exciting thing is when there is a show at the Carson Center, the streets downtown are filled with people. Yeah. They're going to dinner. There's such a buzz. There's such energy. And that's the third quality. It's the vibrant energy, the movement that is going on here.
And the nice thing is that when you, even introducing these new things, hasn't killed the old things. So you still have Market House Theater.
Yes.
You know, you still have the symphony. You have all of these other arts organizations. It's almost like when the arts came more to the center of everyone's focus in Paducah, it created a cohesiveness to the community.
Yes, and preservation is very much a part of that. The bricks and mortar of our downtown and lower town are very much a part of it, and that is, it's the culture in the river. The murals, my gosh, I've said for a long time, I felt like the murals and Downtown After Dinner helped the people of our area and our region as well reclaim Paducah. It's our own. They're on the streets. They know what's on the streets. For a long time, many of us, and I include myself, would get the streets mixed up, even what's in which block of downtown, what's in the blocks of lower town. And now we've got that in our head, and it's better.
Well, and we live in a community of people who really invest. I mean, like you're talking about the flood wall murals. That's a project that you're right, that people were attracted to it because it told Paducah's story, and Paducah has a lot of different stories that are all now on that wall. And I think that is what kind of started, you know, getting people involved and making the area more attractive. And I think having those elements in place bring more visitors, bring more businesses who have more interest in that area and are willing to invest in an historic district, you know, which there is sometimes other things that you have to go through. It's not as easy as throwing up a Butler building.
Sure. We are very fortunate that our leadership prepared the ground for us. Yeah. And not only has the city invested back into the downtown, then because the city and because of the banks as well have reinvested in downtown, then people have put their own money into the community. From the Schraders, who have continually done so, but there are many people like that, and without that private investment, we wouldn't be where we are. And it is because it is our blood and money in the community. It's not just free government money, and it takes much more than that.
You know, that's interesting that you said that too, because you know, when I first moved here, the people here have always been visionaries, and they always said, I remember moving to my home in Lone Oak and people saying, have you been downtown? Have you been down there? And you know, I just had this sense that there was something there, but there wasn't that much at that time. I mean, the Quill Museum is such an anchor for us, but we didn't have the murals. The chocolate factory was there. There were some shops. It was very interesting, but it was as if they already saw it, and they already could, you know, they had the vision of what it could be. You know, Mary, you and I have sat, you mentioned we've been there forever. I can remember when Max and Judy bought the building, and Kirchhoff's, I'm talking about Max's brick oven, and Kirchhoff's, Louis, whenever he, you know, bought that building that belonged to his ancestors. And we saw that renovated. We saw it grow to become
from a boarded up building.
Exactly, or River Place, you know. So it's almost as if the people here were always visionaries, and I think that's something that appeals to the artists whenever you are enticing them to move here. They feel that, they see that, they can tell that this is a community on the move, that it's a community that's very art friendly, and they're, you know, they want to be a part of it.
Well, and I think it's really important that people in the community remember how far it's come, because it's easy to look at it and think, well, there's still a lot of empty spaces, or there's still a lot of holes. But if you could look at it 20 years ago and see how it's progressed,
Exactly.
which is why it's so important for our community to be involved in the arts in that area, because if we can't support it, then
Yes.
it won't continue to grow, and you do have to have that local buy-in, and for the artists in the community to be engaging, and the business and shop owners downtown to be really interacting with the community and building those loyalties and those relationships.
Plug for the chamber, buy local, because they are our other sister in this group. That's, downtown, people have begun to experience it themselves, and we hear it from the shop owners, we hear it from Lower Town, well, just exactly what you're saying, people bringing their family and friends in. And it seems like even though we do a huge amount of advertising, finding out from family and friends is still right up there in the tops when it comes to getting the word out, which is one reason why I like to do this tourism talk, and people are more curious and they follow up and learn more about the community. Lost my train of thought there. Let's help me out here, girls.
Well, that's something I love too. Is if I'm coming to work or coming back from lunch, and I see people in the parking lot walking down, walking around with their friends and family that are visiting them, and they're telling the stories about the murals or about the arts district or about the shops downtown, and I think that everybody is feeling a part of it. They all have that sense of ownership and belonging in there.
The artists that have moved to the Renaissance area, both downtown and Lower Town, because there is a overlap, have really helped us grow, helped us to not continue to be a small town with small town values and not values, views. We've kept our core American values, but our views, and we've opened up so much. We've learned from one another. And I love that part. But we've seen that as people are visiting Paducah, they are following a national trend that we keep hearing about, that people, yes, they like to look at it, and they like to see. First it was they wanted to touch. Now they want to be a part of it. They want to help create. They want to be inspired to go home and continue to create, because they've got to go back to work on Monday, and be in the office, whatever they do, just like everybody else, but they want to know that they can be creative as well. And keep your mind, get off of those things that aren't just what's happening at your desk and in your office, not just about the laundry and picking up the kids and going to do this, but to still take those creative juices and channel it.
Exactly. You're talking now about the vanguard movement in tourism, which is a shift from cultural tourism to creative tourism. And it's actually an offshoot from the cultural tourists. They want those hands-on experiences, and Paducah is definitely a creative city. It's a place where people could come and get their own creativity restored. The best of the best compete every year in the National Quilt Museum, AQS's National Quilt Show, and they're coming from all over the world to be a part of that. And, of course, the cash prizes are great. The classes, though, there's so much going on with the hands-on experiences during the quilt show, and these teachers are coming from all over the world, and they're really recognized teachers. We were really fortunate when Carol Breyer-Fallard became a part of Paducah, because, we had Lower Town getting lots of national media exposure, and we have the Quilt Museum and the Quilt Show bringing 35,000 visitors to our community all at one time, and Carol was the perfect bridge between Lower Town and art. She is a fine artist, and quilting.
I agree. It's funny you were talking, bringing all this together. How many times of the quilt shows we've gone to, how many times have you come back to the office and brought a packet? I'm going to learn how to quilt. I'm going to do it. I've got some fabric. I've bought some fabric over, cool fabric, ribbons. Gosh, think of the things that you've brought back from the quilt show, because it starts to inspire you in thinking about doing something yourself.
Right.
And we're not quilters.
I know, I have dyes in my basement.
But we've bought these because we've been there and been inspired.
Exactly.
And we want to be creative ourselves, and we see people taking the classes. That same thing translates to what people are looking for now when they come here. Yes, you don't have to do everything where you're hands-on. I mean, you still want to go and hear music. You want to, but they want to try their own hand. during Quilt Show, my two friends that come every year, Mary's Quilters who don't quilt, but they come every year because they're inspired. And they spent 3 days marbling in Lowertown with Charlotte. The first day they did paper, the second day they did fabric, and the third day they did silk. And I mean, they taped it all. They are so into it. They left me three big pieces of it. But that's they're inspired by this, and I think we're seeing it being picked up in downtown and Lowertown. People taking classes.
Well, and I think there is a sense of accomplishment. I know, Rosemarie, you've talked about
Yes.
times when you've done things and it's fed your spirit in
Absolutely.
a lot of ways. And it's not just your creative spirit, but it's just kind of, in a sense, it is your soul, because we don't live in a society where we create a lot anymore. You know, we don't have trades. Most of us are not doing trades where we're seeing a sense of accomplishment in a physical object. So I think there's something in each of us that desires to be a part of that and to have something to show for it at the end. So when you go to a city and you have an authentic experience that's unique, it does make you feel like you did something different. It wasn't just the same old thing that you could have done in any city our size across the country.
That's also very social, because to learn, you're interacting with other people, and that talk and that inspiration that they're giving you, not just by the actions, but verbally as you're doing that, is and something that you're not getting through the internet.
Definitely. It's an outlet for a lot of those things, whether it's creativity or, social interaction.
For self-fulfillment as well. And you mentioned we're the destination marketing organization. We market to people outside of the community. We target on 3 geographic areas, but we also target on 3 niche markets, which are arts and quilting. And during these economic times, people are really thinking about how they spend their vacations, and they're more willing to come and participate in a creative experience than they would be to go on an elaborate cruise or take some type of very expensive vacation. But they love coming to a community like Paducah and getting their spirit ministered to, or just embracing their own creativity. They go home, they go back to their work, and they feel so much better about themselves.
And they still have the brag factor. It may not be because you were on the ocean liner kind of a thing, but you have that brag factor because you were you showed creativity. There's that, and we like both. We want to all be able to do both, but the economy has changed the way people are traveling, exactly what you said. Still, a lot of people are visiting family and friends, but they're coming here and they're eating in our many restaurants. We're seeing a lot of the girlfriend getaways, which has been big for us. And we're seeing the husbands and wives, kind of the romantic getaway as well. And you can really tell, at this point, we're not seeing as many families because we're still building upon that product. Luckily, the Parks Department has really focused on the families more so than some of the other areas in town, and the sports marketing.
Yes.
But the girlfriends getaways, you're seeing those, and I love hearing from galleries who have had classes. And haven't we been in Girlfriend Getaway magazine?
In Budget Travel, absolutely, 2 times.
2 times.
Over the Girlfriend Getaways. They named every state and picked a city in every state that would be their choice for Girlfriend's Getaway. Paducah was mentioned for the Kentucky Girlfriend's Getaway. And then just recently we had an article, a full-page article on a lot of creative experiences in Paducah. In fact, I was taking some photos over at Dixie Leatherworks, and Phil Phillips was telling me that a woman came in with that article in his hand. She gave it to him. He hadn't even seen it yet, but that inspired her to come to Paducah, her and her friend, and have a little girlfriend's getaway and visit the Lowertown artists, go to the Quilt Museum and eat out together, go to the spa.
Yeah. Well, and we know that these folks that are walking in or walking on the streets can sometimes be our best advertisement. They do talk about what they've been doing, and also we have gotten a lot of media attention in the big cities, and we've had media writers, travel writers here on a very regular basis.
Right.
And a lot of them, they don't want our help. Jessica, you work with them. Rosemarie, you work with them.
Right.
But some of them, they shun that. They want to be the man on the street.
Sometimes they come in incognito. A lot of times they come in and let us know and they want an itinerary. Other times they come in, kind of quietly and want to see what it's like on their own.
Yeah, and it is interesting, the observations that they make, because it typically is sort of that surprise element of, I've been hearing about this, but there really are these things going on in this community.
Absolutely.
And when you think about the size of Paducah, we have a lot of things available. I mean, you think about the access students in our community have to the arts and to learning about culture and things that you don't even necessarily have in cities that are larger than us in Kentucky. So it's a nice asset that as a community we really need to be involved and embrace.
The accessibility of it, not just that we have all these things to do, the accessibility and the cost or no cost to do those things is unbelievable. And what do you call it when somebody has a lesson plan to go with what there's a word for that. But I think the Quilt Museum and the River Discovery Center both have those, where they work closely with the teachers for the students to be creative and to be learning and how it ties into your everyday life. And I think we're seeing that expand into our arts area.
You're right. And you mentioned the Quilt Museum having those. They're bringing in students. They have that quilt block challenge for students. And this year, I think they had some participants from Africa.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow, how cool is that?
Right.
Well, I think that on our website, and it probably is well with yours, and I don't know how that quite is working together, we both list opportunities to do experiences. And I know you're listening to this and going, oh yeah, experiences. Well, my mother's, should I tell how many years? No. On my mother's birthday last year, we had her birthday party at Wild Hair Studios. None of us had taken art classes before, and we did it. We did a watercolor class and had the best time. And I mean, we're talking a huge age range. It was great fun.
You came in the next day so happy.
Oh, well, it was a happy experience. Now, I haven't hung mine on the wall, but a lot of the women have. A lot of the women have. But I think we're also seeing, talk about the changes, businesses who, I'm thinking of one in particular, who had a retreat downtown, and the staff had a retreat all day, and then they ended it by going over to one of the studios. In fact, it was Wild Hair. You can tell it's your neighbor. You always know what's happening at your neighbor's house. The group went there and had an experiential experience. What a way to cap off a day that you've dug deep into your brain and you need to rejuvenate and become creative again. And I love that, and I think that we'll see more of it.
Gets both sides of your brain working, your right and left, brain.
Definitely.
I'm not sure which one mine is. I don't like to take those tests.
Well, and when you find out, when you go into Lower Town especially, well, not even just Lower Town, downtown, and you start talking to the merchants and you start talking to the artists, you hear a lot of stories about where they come from, and it's incredible, some of the people that live in our community that you probably don't even know you're passing on the street, and some of the things that they've accomplished, and museums where they've had artwork. There are artists in Lower Town who have works on display at the Smithsonian or in their archives.
That's
internationally.
Right.
And
exactly.
Just things you wouldn't know without really getting down there and engaging and experiencing that.
Yeah, I think the beauty of it is their stories and why they came here and who they are.
Yeah, and for us, we try to tell some of their stories through our newsletter, which you can just go to paducaharts.com and sign up and you'll get it. But we try to tell some of their stories so that you do know, so that the visitors who are getting it outside of Paducah, as well as the community who subscribes to that, can get a feel for that and get a taste of it and have some exposure that will entice them to go down and create something.
Your life will be richer for it. This may seem kind of like a tease today, and it is, because we plan to continue this. This will be a series where we'll be talking to some of the artists, bringing them in, trying our own hand, and sharing it with whoever's watching this, at being creative. I think this is just the beginning. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to do any of the filmmaking, but there are all different types of artists here, all different types of experiences. If you haven't been down to Etc. Coffee Shop when they're having the poetry readings, or perhaps a front porch sing, or maybe all the different ways that you can be creative. The 48-hour film festival where people dashed around town putting film together. This is happening, in cities around the world, and here we are, Paducah, being a part of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned etc., but even Market Square Coffee.
Yes, where
you
they're
walk
knitting.
in there, the knitting club is getting together.
Yeah, and book clubs. And
It makes you very much want to be a part of that.
And the writers group. Don't
The
they-
writers group.
they meet every Friday night at etc. And
And
it's
that-
open mic.
Yes. Open mic. I know. I loved it. So we hope that in the next, next couple of months, as we share with you some of the experiences that we have here in the community, that you'll be inspired to go be a part of this and try your hand at making new friends and inspiring your own creativity. What is that one tagline we always like so much? Restoring creative
Restore your
spirits.
creative spirit.
Yes, we hope that you'll restore your creative spirit. So this has been a quick half hour. We've got to plan our next one right away because I'm excited about it. How will we begin? But this is we'll take this through the fall and this winter and get our artist friends in here, and not just hand art, musical art. There's so many. We'll try it all. Are you game?
I'm game.
So we've got 2 websites for you to bookmark. Of course, Paducah.travel. I know you've already got that bookmarked. And tell me.
You can go to PaducahArts.com, or you can go to PaducahMainStreet.com.
And they still are all transferring. Now, our office is across from the gazebo. You're holding down a different part of Broadway, right across from the Irvin Cobb Hotel.
That's right.
And there you are, Paducah Renaissance. You can always pull right up there, come in, meet Jessica and the staff there, see what's going on. They are Main Street, so you've got a 4-point approach. Just 1 minute left. So this is just one part of your job,
Right.
1/4 of it, but we're going to work through it. Thank you for being here.
Thank
And
you.
I'm excited about this period come up of sharing and learning together.
Right.
We'll see you next time here at Channel 2 on Tourism Talk. Thank you for joining us.